Yeah, hi. Welcome to another session of mock interviews with Ankit Jain. So this is me, Ankit Jain. So today we are going to have an experience, have an interview for experience of 2.5 years, and we have a candidate with us. So we're going to get that started. So this is a brief about myself. So I'm Ankit Jain. So I'm a technical architect in an MNC. I'm 18 certified. I'm active in Salesforce event. This is my LinkedIn URL. And to be updated upon the future sessions, you can either connect with me on LinkedIn or you can join the WhatsApp group. And if you want to have a one-to-one session with me, you can feel free to book a session with me on TopMate. So now we are going to get started with the interview with our participant. So let's get started with a brief introduction.
Yeah, so you already know myself participant T. So I have around 2.5 years of experience in Salesforce. So currently I'm working in Infosys. So I have extensively worked on Lightning Web Component, Lightning Flows, Apex classes, asynchronous Apex. Along with that, I have good understanding of Salesforce sharing and security model. I'm also a platform developer one and Salesforce admin certified. Okay, yeah, that's a brief about me.
Yeah, it was quite good. You could have said the certification part first, but doesn't matter. But you covered it all. Like you mentioned your name. What is the designation? You can mention that. Like I'm having total whatever experience is there in current company. What is your designation? What is the company name? If you have like a total years of experience, it's suppose 5 years, and you have experience in Salesforce only 2 years, you have to specify that.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep in mind.
Yeah. So the next thing is like if you don't say anything, what the panel would say think is like it's an open forum, so you can start asking any questions. But if you want like it goes by how you want to it to go, you can ask the panel like if you all I would like to talk about the recent project which I worked on, and if the panel says yes, you can go ahead with explaining that project.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you like to talk about the project, or you would want me to keep an open forum?
Yeah, sure. Uh, I would like to talk about my current project. So currently, I'm working for a US-based banking client, particularly their wealth management related line of business. So they have the client have implemented a huge application on Salesforce. There are around 15,000 plus users. So in that project, I'm a part of a team which mainly responsible for development and enhancement of new functionalities. So I spend my time working on Apex classes, asynchronous Apex, Lightning Web Component, etc. So yeah, so the application uh, is on Salesforce Financial Services Cloud. So yeah,
Actually, when you're explaining about the project, tell like how the customer would feel, like how means what are different actors being involved, how does the flow go, like flow of application from the customer perspective, like whether they would be on the website where they would be doing it, or it would be like their internal team would be there, and I assume like it's a financial services cloud. So
yeah, correct.
yeah, so can you tell me about the what the business process looks like and what are different screens the end user or our actors see?
So the actors includes financial advisors, banking specialists, then loan officers. Those are the main end users of our application. So the financial advisors uses the Salesforce that FSC console app to keep track of the interactions which they make with the client. Their client is the digital appointments. Yeah, those things they use to keep track of their clients. Okay, yeah. Then they do cross selling as well. Like if their particular client have a requirement related to banking or particular requirement related to loan, then they refer those clients to the banking specialist as well as loan officers. So yeah.
Okay. But actually, what you're saying, and it's like bits and pieces. Explain the end-to-end process. Like, suppose the flow starts like the customer would be calling the bank, the advisors, suppose through the CTI, and then they would be having the conversation which would be captured in the lead object, and then the sales rep would talk about different services that are available under that, and then they would advise it based on the whatever inputs are received. Either he would try to cross sell, or they would want to process it and get that opportunity converted. Something of that sort it would work, right?
Yep, yep. Yeah, yeah, correct. I'll improve that again.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, sure.
because other than that, actually, it's like a vague bits and pieces. It's not connecting entirely. Nobody would be able to relate to that. So,
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
you have worked on integration.
No, I didn't got a chance to work on integration so far. Thank you.
In that scenario, to take a pointer, like always say like even if you have worked on trailer, you can say like I did some explanation around. If you have not worked got practical project exposure, you can still say like if you have done any superset or any trail mix around integration, you can even mention that. Like I know about the integration patterns and other stuff, but hands-on I didn't get a chance,
Mm.
or I did a trailhead around that, but project wise I didn't get the exposure much. You can say that clearly,
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
because the moment you say like you have not worked on, your chances like are going down down drastically.
Yeah, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah.
At least trailhead you do know what's the problem.
Yeah, I do know basics, but I never got a chance to work in a
Yeah,
hands-on on.
yeah. Trailhead is there on for related to integration. We can do that
Yeah, yeah, correct.
because currently the market is a bit tricky situation. So it's recommended like these integration there the level they're expecting is also quite means high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the expectations are really very high in
Correct.
this market. Yeah,
Yeah, so you have worked on LWC.
yeah, I do have hands-on experience of working on LWCs. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me the what's the difference between Aura and LWC.
So yeah, uh, uh, like LWC is based on the like latest browser standards, while Aura is a platform dependent. It works only with the Salesforce. So that's the basic difference. Other than that, LWC is more faster as compared to Aura, and yeah, those yeah
Yeah, so as you said, you
performance.
rightly pointed out, like yes, it's faster, and also you means you mentioned like it's because it mentions so browser latest browser standard. So you can mention that it's web standard browser functionality is around web components. So tell them clearly, like latest browser standard, that is the web component. It's based on LWC is based on that. So it's be much more faster. You can mention that and it's fine.
Mhm,
And also security wise, it's more better than Aura
mhm,
because of lightning web security and also
mhm.
shadow DOM.
Yep.
So can you tell me the different lifecycle hooks?
So yeah, so life cycle hooks are nothing but the callback functions, which are called at different phases of components com in the components life cycle. So first of all, we have a constructor. So uh, whenever the component is instantiated, at that time only the constructor is called. Uh, then we have a connected callback. So whenever the component is connected to the DOM, at that time the connected callback is called. So connected callback flows from parent to child. First of all, it will be called on the parent component, then only it will be called on child component. So in connected callback, we can perform activities like fetching the data or subscribing to lightning message channel and data setup. Those kind of activities we can do in connected callback. And once the component renders on the UI, the rendered callback function will be called. So rendered callback flows from child to parent. That means first it will be called on child component and later on parent component. So activities like subscribing to Lightning message channel, then loading scripts, the third-party JavaScript libraries, then mm, yeah, adding uh, programmatic events, event listeners. So those kind of activities we can do in render callback. And one point of caution is we should not update wire methods attributes in render callback. And yeah,
Why?
and
Why?
so so whenever you update, so every time the wire again the prop there is a chance that properties will get updated, and whenever the properties get updated, again render callback function will be called. So that way it will run in a loop. It will call render callback again and again. So to avoid that, we should never update the public properties nor the wire method attributes in render callback. So that's the third lifecycle. Then we have a disconnected callback. So disconnected callback is called whenever the component is disconnected from the DOM. So it flows from parent to child. So in a disconnected callback, we can uh, uh, unsubscribe from Lightning message channel, and some the we can purge the data, purge the cache. So those kind of activities we can do in disconnected callback. Yeah, and again there is fifth one, that is error callback. So it will be called whenever the component will throw an error. It behaves like a catch block. So whenever component throws an error, we can handle that inside the error callback function. Yeah. So those five are the basic lifecycle hooks.
Okay,
Uh,
what are the different decorators that we have in LWC?
so decorators are nothing but the are nothing but annotation which enhances the properties or variables in Lightning Web Component. So first of all, we have API decorator. So API decorator, we use API decorator to make it public so that we can pass the property from parent component to the child component. Also, we can decorate methods with API at the rate API decorator and call those methods from the parent component. Then we have a track decorator. So uh, we can by using track decorator we can make our arrays as well as objects reactive. So we should make sure that we decorate our arrays and objects with at the rate track decorator. So whenever the arrays or object changes, so those values will be reactive on the UI. Yeah,
Um,
and then the third one is a wire decorator. So we use wire decorator to fetch the data from the backend from using LDS or using Apex controller. So yeah, so using wire decorator, we can fetch the data from backend. So those three, like API, track, and wire, are the decorators in LWCs.
See, you mentioned, but there is little more detail that you can add. Like you can mention, like when you talked about at the rate wire, you can mention like you can only get the data. The DML is not
Yep,
the
yep,
DML
yep,
cannot
yep.
be done, and you need to
Mhm.
have the cacheable equal to true for that.
Yeah, we cannot mutate the data. So when we
Yeah,
have to mutate the data at that time, we need to call the Apex methods imperatively. Yeah,
correct,
that's
correct, 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 correct. And at the rate track also you mentioned, although you talked about like the special catch around like the array object means arrays, you will have to make a custom data types that you will have to make that at the rate track explicitly. But also mention like by default all the other primitive data types that are therein, they are
mhm.
reactive by default.
Yep, yep, correct. Yeah.
You will have to mention that. We know
Yep.
that, I know that, but you will have to
Mhm.
specify that explicitly in the interview so that the panel might not know because
Yep,
this
yep,
is a
correct.
recent enhancement.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
So you will have to make them
Mhm.
acknowledge that, and then tell me like why do we go with imperative calling instead of the wired method?
So as I initially mentioned, using wire, we cannot mutate we cannot mutate the data. We cannot change the data in the backend. So in that case, we should use imperative call. So like we can call the method Apex method imperatively by wrapping that call into a handler. Like suppose if I want to update the back data in the backend on the click of button, so I will create a on-click handler, and inside that handler I will call the Apex method imperatively. So that way I can using imperative call I can mutate the data, which is not possible by using wire method.
Yeah,
So
also like when you're talking about that, also mention it very clearly. Like when you use at the rate to imperative calling, you have entire control. Like when you want that method to be called, because at the rate var would be it would be called as per the standard lifecycle hook. So
yep,
suppose if
yep,
you want to do any checks or any validations before doing the server call, you would be able to do it in your imperative calling, but not in your wire method.
yep. Right.
Yeah, it should come out very clearly.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Yeah. So what are the annotations that we need? Like if I would need a method to be available, means that could be called from LWC.
So first of all, we need to annotate the method with at the rate with aura enabled annotation, so that so that we can call that method in our LWC. And then the method should be static and public. Yep. So those things we need to take care of while calling a method into our LWC component.
Yeah. What are the different ways like one LWC component can do communication with another LWC component?
So to have communication between the components, so there can be communication between parent and child. So either communication will be from parent to child or from child to parent. So while communicating from parent to child, we take help of the at the rate API decorator. We need to decorate our properties which we want to get passed from parent to child with the at the rate API decorator in child component. And while embedding that.
1 second. Yeah, tell me like what are the different ways like we can do the communication? You were mentioning something around at the rate API. So can we resume on that?
Yeah, I'll start from the beginning. Like there can be communication between parent and child. So there is one way, like either parent communicate to the child or child communicate to the parent. So whenever parent has to communicate with the child, we take help of the at the rate API decorator. For that, we need to decorate our properties, which we need to be passed from parent with at the rate API decorator in child component. And while passing the to pass the data, we need to add that property in kebab casing, and while embedding the child component into a parent component. So that way we can pass the data from parent to child. In case of child to parent communication, we take help of the custom events. So we need to define the custom events in child component, and dispatch those custom event from the child component, and and we need to specify the handler uh, in the kebab casing where we have embedded our child component. So which handler needs to be called when particular event is fired from the uh, child component. So using custom events, we can have communication from child to parent component, and there can be communication between two unrelated component. The component can be on the same DOM tree, but they are not related. So for the communication between unrelated component which are on same DOM tree, we take help of lightning message channel. So in that case, we have to make sure both the components subscribe to the same lightning message channel. And yeah, so using one component can publish the data, and other can specify the handler uh, for it. Uh, So using LMS, we can have communication between two unrelated components. So yeah.
You will need to also talk about, yeah, you will need to also talk about the PubSub as well. Like I know like LMS is preferred over PubSub, but still mention that there is a way of PubSub as well.
Uh,
Publish subscriber like the standard gRPC. Tell them like yes, this is also available, but Salesforce recommends using LMS because it's across various platforms. You won't be able to do that.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I'll read about it, Ankit. So I don't have much idea about PubSub, but I think it is similar to LMS. Yeah.
Yes. It's exactly same. The only difference is like LMS you can do from a VF to LWC to Aura to LWC. All combinations are possible.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I'll read about it more. Okay. Yep.
Okay. And apart from that, I think from the LWC endpoint, Lightning Data Service you already are aware of.
Yep. I'm aware of it. Yep. So,
You have worked on the asynchronous Apex as well.
yeah, Ankit, I have worked on batch Apex to be specific. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me like what are the different methods the batch class has?
So when to implement a batch Apex, we need to implement that database.batchable interface. So database.batchable interface mandates the class to implement start method, execute method, and finish method. So do you want me to elaborate? Those?
Yes. Please go into detail for start method at least.
So start method, we use start method to query the records. Start method in start method, the its parameters include uh, database dot batchable context, and yeah, it has a signature as a public static uh, 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 batch, database dot query locator, and it returns a dynamic query. So uh, using we return it using database dot query locator. We pass the dynamic query in that function, database dot get query locator, and then
Uh,
yeah.
there's actually a special catch on that. That's why I wanted you to explain the start method only. The reason being like start, most people don't know like there is two variants of start method.
Yeah, iterator also we can use. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm aware of it, but I have never used it in the
Yeah.
batch
So
method.
the
Okay.
use case is around like mostly some in some scenarios we already have the data with us, or you want to mostly process around like create doing some processing around CSV files. So in such use cases, we create a custom iterator and then we use it in the batch class. Or you
Yeah.
already have the data with you. So what you do is like in the constructor itself, you pass that data means that list of whatever is the list of accounts or whatever it is, and then you get that return from your start method. Detailed explanation I've already put it in the asynchronous Apex video that is available on YouTube, so you can go over that. But
Yeah.
yeah, start method is there, and execute method I already know. Like you would know, like it would get called as yeah. Now tell me, like suppose if I will ask you a trick question. The trick
Mhm.
question is like there are 2000 records to be processed. How many
Yeah.
batch means how many times the execute method will get called?
So while calling the execute method, we can specify the scope. So we can specify the scope between anywhere between 1 to 2000. So and if we don't specify the scope, the batch job will take 200 as a default scope for it. So
Yeah.
so I, mhm.
Yeah, that's actually very good because most people actually fail this and likely by that default they assume like it's going to be 200 and tell the answer accordingly. But
Yeah,
what you said is the exact right perfect way of answering that.
yeah, yes, thank you. Yeah.
Can I do a callouts from batch class?
Callouts, yeah, that callouts are possible, but for that you need to implement the other interface, database dot allow callouts. Yeah. So
Okay.
using that, we can do callers from batch job as well. So
Yeah.
hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Uh, there's another thing I would want to ask, like, do you know about database.stateful?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. So whenever we want to maintain a particular variable, so the transactions are discrete. So none of the data get is retained between the uh, two consecutive calls of execute method. But if we want to maintain a data, so for that we use a database.stateful. We can define a variable, and that variable value will be maintained throughout the batch process.
Okay. Can I call a future method from batch class?
No, we cannot call a future method, but we can call a queueable method from a batch class.
Okay. Tell me, like, can I call another batch from mains? Can I do chaining?
Yeah, that is possible. For that, we need to call the another batch job in the finish method of the uh, in the finish method. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, like, suppose if I have to schedule a batch, what I need to do? I want that every day, like, I want to implement the functionality, say birthday reminders. So how will I implement that?
So as per I know, we can take help of the like that schedulable interface, and to we can programmatically also schedule it, or we can schedule it from the that Apex page from UI as well.
Okay.
So for that we need if we programmatically scheduling it, we need to while scheduling we need to also specify the con expression. So con expression is nothing but the time as well as date
Yeah.
uh, which
It's a Regex expression around like when it should get executed. So it's around that. Uh, what are the advantages of using batch class?
so batch class has specific use case, like whenever we want to process large number of data. So in that case, we go for a batch class. So batch class can process around 50 million records. So whenever we want to process large number of data, in that case, we can go for a batch class.
Yeah.
Activities like data archival or data cleansing. So those kind of activities we can do using batch class.
Yeah, but here, like you mentioned, like it's large volume. But again, one more point you will have to say while explaining that batch class is when we need to query more than 50,000 records.
Yeah. Yeah, normal SQL query will fetch a 50,000 record, but if you want to go
Beyond
further,
that,
mhm, we should take help of batch class. Yeah.
actually, there's another way as well. That actually is also another interview question, but that very few people know. Like that is not in trend for a long time, but there is the way. It's at the rate read only. Like suppose you want to just fetch the records, you don't want to do anything, then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
use that. You
yeah.
can
At
query
the
up.
rate only.
Yeah, that would allow you to do query up to 1 lakh records.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have read about it, Ankit. Yeah, I do read about it at the rate only. Yeah.
That's good. Tell me like what feature means. What's the difference between feature method and featureable?
So future method we use future method uh, whenever we want to make a call out, or whenever we want to separate operation between setup and non-setup objects. So in that case, we use future method. But there are some limitations with future method, like we cannot monitor or we cannot pass as objects to the future method. So 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 those limitations are so to avoid those limitations, we can take help of queueable method. So a queueable is nothing but an enhancement over future method. So the whenever we execute a queueable method, it returns an ID. Using that ID, we can monitor the job, as well as we can pass as objects uh, to 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 a queueable class. Yeah.
Yeah. Another catch is you can't do chaining inside the future method. Like you can't call one future method means another future method from one future method.
Yeah. That is another enhancement of
Like that we
over
get with
future.
Qml. Another functionality, like not sure like if many people have told you or not. You also have something known as transactional finalizers. Like where instead of polling and checking like whether that job is executed or not, you get a proper callback, transactional finalizers. So
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
know like if it's done or not. That also I've gone into much detail in the asynchronous effects video. Code level examples are also provided.
yeah. We can define a retrieval mechanism using
Yeah,
transaction finalizer,
correct,
I guess.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. Also, you can control the sequence as well, like whatever you want. Basically, you get the callback, then there are immense possibilities that you can do.
What, Ankit?
Once you get the callback, like you know, like
Yeah.
when that queuable method is executed, so you know like what to means you can do whatever you want. You can use that to schedule another queuable from the same queuable as well. You can do call outs. You want to send an email, whatever you want.
Yep, correct. So I think similar we have race platform events in batch, right?
That is,
So
yeah, that race platform events is actually your, you're talking about like when the batch class fails, like batch async exception platform event gets called. You're talking about that, I guess.
yeah, correct. So using that also we can monitor the batch job. Monitor in the sense we can keep track of the
Logging, you can
failed run.
call it error logging mechanism to be precise.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, since you talk about that, can you tell me that have you worked on flows?
Yeah, I do have worked on record triggered flows, lightning flow, screen flows, yeah, then auto launch flows. Yeah, I do have
Do
work.
any other type of flows that you are aware of?
Yeah, I do have worked on platform flows as yeah, platform event triggered flows as well.
Okay.
Hmm.
You can tell me the in record triggered flow, what are different kinds of flows that we have?
So what different scenarios like we can
With different types under the record triggered flows.
so we can on a before in a before context as well as after context. So those two contexts we can run the flow. I don't know the exact wording for it, but it
Okay,
is
got it, got
like
it, got it.
fast build update and something is
Yeah,
before save.
actions and related records.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
actions on the related records. Yeah.
yeah, if suppose I have to use the subflow or auto launch flow, uh, I can use that in either of them, or is there any limitation?
So no, in I think in before context we cannot have we cannot call a subflow. So that's the limitation actually.
Okay.
In after context, action on related records. In that context, we can take help of the subflows. Mm, we can call subflows. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, like for a method to be available for flows, what is the annotation that we need?
So first of all, we need to annotate that method, the Apex method with @ invocable, and the method should be public, static, and and uh, and then it should have only one parameter, which can be a list of a list of a subject or any other wrapper class.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Next thing
And
is
then there one more thing, and only in a class we can only have one invocable method.
yes, correct. That is another catch. Can
Mhm.
I call a autonomous flow from Apex?
Auto launch flow from Apex. No, Ankit, I'm not sure on that. No.
Yeah, we can do that. The signature is string comma object. So what you do is like you create that map of string comma object, and then flow interview dot your flow name dot start, and then you pass the parameter of that map, and
Okay,
it would
okay.
work.
Yeah, that's a new learning for me.
Not a
I'll
problem.
definitely test it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some scenarios like where I have thought like sometimes the scenarios are too much complicated, so you have to think of what are the different possibilities. So
Mhm.
so that I got to learn about that.
Yeah, correct.
So the next thing is tell me about the best practices of writing ethics code.
So best practices of Apex code. Yeah. So we should use with sharing keywords. to enforce the logged in users record level security. Then while performing DML, we should uh, we should do it in a user mode, and we yeah, either performing DML or while querying the records, we should use we should do it in a user mode, and then we should not perform DML or SOQL query inside a for loop. Then we should follow a proper naming convention. Then we should separate a processes which takes long CPU time using asynchronous methods, either future or queuable. Uh, then yeah, those are the uh, pretty much best practices. Ankit.
Bulkify the code, you will have
Yeah,
to
yeah, we should bulkify our code. Yeah, that
use of
is.
map and list. Map,
Yeah,
set and
collections
list.
also. Collection. We should use collections. Yeah, and we should we should enhance for loop. We should use uh, enhance for loop, or we should write the SQL queries inside the for loop, so that improves the performance. Uh, uh, yeah,
You should also have like code coverage more than
yeah,
75%.
yeah. We should maintain it above 90. So 75% is the required, but we should try to keep it above 90. Yeah.
Yeah, the next thing is around that exception, you should also do exception handling. One trigger per object. Trigger should be logicless.
Yeah,
Use of start test and stop test dot start test and test dot stop test.
in test classes, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So those we should we also cover while whenever covering the best practices of Apex, right?
Yes. Everything.
Yeah.
And apart from that, uh, tell me what's the use of test dot start test and stop test?
So test dot start test and stop test. So those are pretty much useful while testing the asynchronous processes. So uh, using test dot start and test dot stop test, the immediately after that the your our asynchronous processes will be called. So that's the one advantage of using test dot start and test dot stop, Ankit. So
Basically, what happens is like when you try test dot start test, it resets your governor limit. And
yeah,
when you write test dot stop test, whatever is
yeah.
the synchronous apex, it would become synchronous.
Yeah, that governor limit is also one
Yeah.
point. Your governor limit will be refreshed, and yeah.
Uh, Can you tell me the use of system dot run as?
So system dot run as we use it. So I have used it in one of the use case whenever we were getting a mixed DML error in the test class. So whenever we want to execute that particular method with some other user's context, so in that case we take help of system.run as. So that way we can also avoid the mixed DML error in test classes. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's good. The next thing that we can touch upon is using like the difference between with sharing, without sharing, inherited sharing. What is the differences between that?
So which yeah, so it those sharing keywords enforces the, so which sharing will enforce the users the logged in users mm, record level security. So whatever the records he has access to will only be available to the logged uh, to perform DML or SOQL in inside that class. Okay, yeah, and without sharing is opposite of it. Irrespective of the logged in user, it will query. You will be able to query as well as perform DML all the records available. And inherited sharing, the sharing will be inherited from the parent class. So if the parent class have with is with sharing, then the the child class will also be uh, with sharing executed with sharing context, and if it is without sharing, then parent class will also be executed with without sharing context. Yeah. So
Let me just rephrase that. So basically, with sharing, what it does is like whatever are the records that a particular person is, means if he is not the means he whatever are the records that he should be seeing in, only those records would be coming up in the query. Like suppose there are say 100 records and the current user logged in user should have access only to 20 records for viewing. Then if you do the query inside the with sharing, only 20 records will be coming up in the SQL.
yep, correct.
And for without sharing, it would be coming like all the 100 records would be coming in. And
Mhm.
inherited sharing, if you call it directly, it would work as with sharing only. The catch here is that.
Yeah, default is with sharing only. Yep. Even
Correct.
if we don't specify the that those keywords, it will be executed in with sharing context. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you don't mention anything, there's absolutely nothing mentioned, then it would the class would behave like without sharing.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a special
Okay.
catch between inherited and not omitting that sharing keyword as well. So you'll have to when you're writing inherited by default it works with sharing. And if you don't
Mhm.
mention anything, it would work without sharing.
Without sharing. Yep.
Also note like while doing this query, there is nothing checked about the object or field level access. The
Mhm.
only
Yeah, that it doesn't enforce field level as well as object level security. Yeah.
correct,
That
correct, correct. What do you do if you have to enforce those? That is a counter question.
yeah. So if we have to enforce those, we should use the user mode keyword. At the end of query, we should use user with user mode keyword. So
No, 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 no. With user mode is again a variation. Like with user mode, what it does is, suppose you can't change the without sharing at the top of the class, and you want that specific query to run it when the user mode, then you use that with user mode in the SQL query.
uh,
It checks the record level. It's
no,
similar
no,
to with sharing or
it is
without sharing.
no, no, it is for all the three, right?
No,
Means
no, no.
it will enforce record level, field level, as well as object level.
That
Yeah,
no, no,
user
no.
mode. Okay.
It does
Oh,
only this thing, record level.
okay. Then what should be the answer, Ankit? Yeah.
With security enforced.
Yeah. With security enforced, yeah, that is possible, but I think Salesforce doesn't recommend us using with security enforced nowadays because we have those keywords, user mode as well as system mode, right? So according to my understanding, I think that is correct. Like we should use user mode and not with security enforced. Yeah, we'll have to check again, Ankit. I'll sure for check. I'll check it again. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Then we can have
And
that strip access
strip inaccessible,
accessible.
yes. That's
Yeah.
again a like I
Mm,
was about to go with that only.
mm. Then also while performing DML, we can specify the access level. If we are performing a normal DML, we can write like insert as user and then
Yeah,
whatever
correct.
list or object we need to insert. And while performing database operations, that time we can specify the access level dot user mode or access level dot system mode. Yeah.
Yeah. I just verified like slight correction. Yes, with user mode, it Salesforce recommends that over with security enforced because it's more useful for polymorphic fields and also like FLS as well. It gives you the errors around all the things.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you were right on that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for correction. I will also make sure like
Mhm.
uh, I take that right in the future
Yeah.
sessions for
Yeah, sure.
learning.
Yeah.
The next thing is around how do you do integration? Like what are the, suppose you have to do a call out what are the different ways, like what do you do? Suppose you have to do a call out. What are the steps that you would follow?
So yeah, to be frank, I have never worked on integration, but I'm aware like what all places we can make call outs. Like we can either we can make a call out from Apex or through Flow also we can make it, and the other way is through fetch method in Lightning Web Component. So from there also we need to make a call out. To make a call out to particular endpoint, we need to store that URL into the name credentials. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So that is the Salesforce way of uh, enforcing the security. Yeah. So that yeah. So
Okay.
those three ways I'm aware of, and yeah, there may be other ways as well.
Okay. Apart from that, yeah. Tell me about the security and sharing model of Salesforce.
So Salesforce sharing and security model. Yeah. So we can control the Salesforce sharing and security at different levels, like at org level, at object level, at field level, as well as at the record level. To control the security at org level, we have we can set the IP ranges, we can set the login hours, or we can set the password policies in the user profile. So using that, we can enforce the org level security. Then for object level security, we can yeah yeah. You want to say anything, Ankit?
Now, what I wanted to say is like you rightly mentioned, like three levels are there. First, I would actually want to cover, would actually get started with directly the object level, field level, and then the record level, and then record level. I would get started with the OWD and all of that.
Yeah. So yeah, then if coming to object level and field level security, those level of security we can enforce using profiles, and if we want to uh, open up the access, we can do it using permission sets and permission set groups. So that way we ensure the field level as well as object level security. Then we have a record level security to so OWD, so to control the record level security, we have object by default settings, then role hierarchies, then sharing settings, and to again further open up the access, we can take help of manual sharing as well as Apex managed sharing. So OWD sets the baseline for record level security. So for particular object, we can set the OWD as private, public read write, public read only, or if there is a master detail relationship, then we can control the record level security using parent object as well. For that, we need to select control by parent, and there is and for leads and cases, we can mention it as we can give a transfer access as well. And then there are other checkboxes like a view like view all and modify all. So those level of access also we can specify for particular objects record. And also we can uh, we can grant access using hierarchies use by using a checkbox present on OWD while setting the OWD. Then again, to open up the access, we can take help of a role hierarchy. So in the role hierarchy, we set up the role hierarchy. So the users which are on the role with on a lower role, uh, the records owned by the those users will be uh, uh, visible to the users which are above that role in role hierarchy. So yeah, so using role hierarchy, we can share the records with the users on a higher role. Then if we want to further open up the access of the provide the record access, we can take help of sharing rules. So we have two types of sharing rule, either a criteria based or owner based sharing rule. So using sharing rule, we can share the records between two groups, or between groups, roles and subordinates, and yeah. So that
Actually,
is
there's actually three types of like two you mentioned. There's another known as guest sharing rule.
yeah, gets sharing role, but yeah, I have never used it, so I avoid mentioning it. Yeah.
Mention that.
Mhm.
Another thing is around your restriction rule.
Yeah, restrictions rules are also there. Yeah.
If
Suppose if
suppose
we
I have
want
to if
to,
I can't restrict it using OWD, but again means I have to apply that restriction, then I can go for restriction rules. Another
yeah,
catch is like grant access using hierarchy can be changed only for custom objects. Standard objects you can't change.
yeah, it is already checked for standard objects. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and we can't uncheck that as well.
Right.
Another thing is that with permission set group, we can also mute the permission.
Yeah, we have muting permission sets as well. Yep, correct.
Yes. So that you'll to mention. Then the
Mhm.
teams, account team, opportunity
Yeah,
team, case team.
yeah. Territories also do we
Yeah, we have the data sharing rule.
account teams, opportunity teams. Yeah, those things are also there, which yeah.
And even we have the queues option of giving access using
Yeah,
queues.
we have again we have public group. We can create a public groups, and yeah, there also we have a checkbox to grant access using hierarchies. So yeah, we use public groups to we can share the records using sharing rule between two public groups or within the
Yeah,
same
correct,
public group.
correct, 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 correct. Then in the Apex managed sharing, what are the different fields that you have?
So like if I go for a custom object, then we have a parent ID, then user or group ID, then we can specify the access level. Then we have a row cause, and those are the pretty much mandatory fields.
What is the
And
default value of locals?
row cause, it will be manual. No, it will be manual, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is the disadvantage of using manual?
So manual, then we cannot differentiate whether we have explicitly provided that using Apex based sharing, or it is manually provided. Like whenever we provide it manually as well, whenever user provide it manually as well. So in that case also it is manual, right? So that can be a one limitation.
The
And
important catch is around if suppose the owner of the record is changed, then
yeah,
what
yeah,
are the
that. So in case of manual sharing, all the sharing records will be deleted. But in case of Apex sharing, even if the user changes, those sharing records will be maintained. Yeah.
actually if you have a different sharing row cause, then the access would still be
Oh,
retained.
oh,
But
oh,
if
oh, oh, that is the case. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was aware that whenever the owner changes for manual sharing, it okay. So all the records with row cause was manual, those will be deleted, right? Yeah. Mhm. Whenever the owner changes, yeah.
yeah,
So
so
and one more thing, like if we go for a custom object, the field will be different. Like instead of parent ID, there will be, if suppose I
record
go
ID.
for, yeah, if I go for the case share object, it will have a case ID.
Correct, 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 correct.
And
It's true.
if we go for the access level, it will specify a case access level. And
Yes.
if we go for account share object, there will be having another three fields like account access, uh, yeah, account level access, opportunity level access, and
Yeah, in
case level
general terms we
access.
are talking about right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Apart from, have you heard about locking statements?
Uh, Locking statements.
Like for
Lock.
update,
Yeah, I am aware of that. We can, yeah, for update, it will log the record actually. Yeah. So using for update in our SQL query, we can log the record for.
do you know about promise.all and promise.trace?
Yeah, I have used it actually. So whenever we perform multiple async operation, So in case of that, we use promise.all as well as promise.trace. So in promise.all, the callback function will wait till all the promises are resolved. And in promise.trace, like whenever the first method is returned, so at that instance only the then function will be called. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about the different trigger callbacks that are available. Trigger context variables, sorry, not callbacks, trigger context variables that are available.
So trigger context variable is executing is there, then is before, is after. So those only you are expecting, right? No.
Yeah, trigger.new, trigger.new
Yeah,
map. These are also
trigger dot new map, trigger dot old map. Then yeah, is
trigger dot is
executing.
executing.
Then trigger dot uh, some some uh, some we can check the context. What is it? Is it whether it is before insert or before update? I don't remember it actually.
The variable itself is trigger dot is insert.
No, there is one
That
more.
data quidility. To quidility it's called. That's a
No,
separate method.
no, trigger dot. It returns either before insert, before update, or
The operation type.
yeah,
Trigger.
operation type. Yeah, correct. Trigger dot operation type. That also, and trigger dot size is there again.
Yes, yeah. So tell me why do we use trigger frameworks?
So trigger frameworks. So using trigger frameworks, I guess we can have a better control. Uh, we can have a better control, which we can. So sorry, Ankit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the reason why we use trigger framework is like first thing, it helps me divide the logic and it helps me reuse the code.
Also,
Second,
we can avoid that CPU timeout limit. If
no, that is different. That is entirely different concept.
yeah.
That is
No, but to avoid we should use trigger framework so that hmm, is
trigger
it
framework
not?
doesn't help you on that CPU limit. What actually CPU towards CPU limit, what you can do is like don't have multiple automations on the single object.
Right.
That is the best way, or you have that checks of trigger dot old map and new map compare trigger dot new and trigger dot old map. You can do the comparison. If that field changed, then only let that automation run.
Correct.
Second
Oh,
aspect to that is trigger by default runs every time, right? But suppose due to some requirement, I want to bypass the trigger.
yeah,
To
yeah,
have such kind of sophisticated requirement, we use the trigger framework. Also, a
yeah,
common issue with, sorry, you were saying something?
yeah. That is correct, Ankit. No, I was not saying that.
Yeah. So another advantage I get by implementing the trigger framework is like the common problem that people encounter is around the recursion. So in the trigger framework itself, like I get the methods like set max loop count method, so that I can specify like how many times at maximum I should allow that. So which helps me manage the things better.
Okay.
And obviously modularization also happens as a side effect of that. Like we
Mhm,
have the different, we have an interface, like we have the different trigger means you have the trigger handlers, you have the different domain classes. So
mhm.
and we can have the separate logic like which could be reused. So reusability also increases. So this is the reason like we use the trigger frameworks.
Yeah, sure. I'll read more on it, Ankit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a tricky question. It was asked to me in one of the interviews like long
But
back.
but
Like,
but there are multiple trigger frameworks, right? Every have their own
but yeah, I agree to that.
concept.
But these constraints means these things are actually handled in all of this. If these are
Yeah,
not
yeah,
there, what is the use of that?
yeah. Those are pretty much required for every trigger framework to have, right?
Yeah. Actually, one was like one I was interviewed. They asked me what is actually a framework.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I read it somewhere like a framework is actually a set of practices that have been proved in the past that they help us solve
Okay.
complex issues in the complex issues by following particular programming patterns. So those patterns are known as frameworks.
Mhm. Yeah, the similar question I faced was like, what are decorators? He was not expecting, the interviewer was not expecting me to tell what all the decorator, but he was expecting me to say the definition of decorators.
Okay.
Mm.
The next thing we can talk about is like if there is we I suppose I'm getting recursion, I'm getting problem with recursion. So what is the ways like I should be able to handle this problem of recursion?
So recursion is nothing but whenever the same function calls itself, right? So to avoid that, we can take help of the a boolean flag. Uh, uh, so using boolean flag, we can avoid recursion. Maintaining a boolean flag, we can avoid recursion. And
Okay.
so, but if there are multiple records, then we can have a set of IDs, and we can add the IDs for the records which are already processed. So that way also we can avoid recursion, I hope. Mm.
Yeah, but static means that boolean flag the char. What's the problem with that boolean flag? Tell me now.
So yeah, we should also use a static keyword with it. Otherwise,
Yeah, but what's the problem with this approach?
so with this approach, that flag again will change, right? The class will initialize again and it will change. Um,
Yes, and when it will happen after 200 records, once the context is changed.
yep, correct. Mm.
So what's the better way?
So we can have that static keyword. Uh, we can declare it as a static, as a class variable. So that way it will not get refreshed every time.
No, 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 no. It's the same thing. Basically, what you're talking about is like declaring a static variable and setting it to false and true. That once it's executed, I mark it as false.
So
So the better way is like you add the checks around, compare it with the trigger.new with trigger.old map, and check if the particular things are changed. Then only let the other logic gets executed,
correct.
and
Uh,
follow the best practices like of your proper frameworks.
right. Thank you.
A
Yeah,
detailed explanation is provided in Epic servers, so I would highly recommend you reading through that.
yeah. I need to explore on triggers more. Ankit. Yeah, definitely. I'll check that out. Triggers as well as trigger frameworks. Mm.
Okay. Tell me, like, suppose I have a requirement, like I have to throw an error if whenever a contact has an account associated with that, and if I try to delete a account, it should throw me an error. How will I implement that?
So what is the problem is you have an account. It has
If there is any contact with that, and if I
curated
try
content.
to delete that account, I should get an error.
Yeah. Uh, so there are multiple ways to achieve it. Either we can have a validation rule.
How
So
would the validation rule work out?
yeah, validation will not work in delete case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So using trigger as a trigger, we can achieve that, Ankit. So we can go for mm, before context, before delete context, and if we can check whether whether the contact have related a parent account or not. If it is there, then we can use use that add error method and throw the error on UI.
Yeah.
So hope that answers your question. Is that
Yes.
approach correct?
Yeah, you will have to write the trigger and you will have to what you will have to do is like the trigger point would be on account and then it would be in before insert in yeah in the before delete itself you will be able to get that do a query and add error.
Right. So the trigger needs to be on contact, right? Uh,
Trigger should be
Trigger needs to be on contact object, right? It will be a contact trigger.
why
So we are deleting the contact, right? And or
we are deleting the account.
okay. In that case, yeah, it should be on account object. Yeah, I thought you are deleting contact and
No. If the account is deleted and if there's a related contact then we need to throw an error.
yep.
In actual interviews you will be asked to write a trigger for the same as well.
Yeah, I have faced this before.
This is very simple, but in actual interviews, the things would be much complex.
Right.
How do I make sure like the validation rule only runs for the newly created records?
Newly created records
Only on creation, sorry.
only on creation. So I think we for that we have that that we have that context variable is new or is created
Yeah,
something like
is new, it is called.
yeah.
And apart from that, can can I do a call out from flows?
Call out from flows. Yeah, that is possible with new releases. We have that HTTP. Uh, yeah, we yeah that is possible. Ankit.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Mm.
There are a few questions that I have in my mind, but I think that would be quite over your experience level. So that's why I'm not thinking to ask those. It's around the design patterns and all those stuff.
Yeah. Design patterns. Yeah. No, I won't be.
Let's take a simple scenario. What is a
Mhm.
wrapper?
So wrapper is so using wrapper classes we can define our own data type. So that wrapper can have a primitive data types or even it can have a custom data types or list of custom data types. So yeah, so wrapper helps us to define our custom data type actually.
Yeah. Or also you can also say it like this. This is one aspect, but you can also say like multiple data types. You are able to wrap it in a single class.
Yeah, that's the use of it. Yeah, wrapper class. Yeah.
Uh, Actually, there are mates. If you can share your screen, I have a let's take a three lines of 4 lines of code. I would want you to see like whether you know or not.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Where is the sharing option?
1 minute.
I saw it now. It's in green. That's why.
Not a
Uh,
problem.
so is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Yeah. Now I think it will. Is it visible now? Yeah.
Yeah. Open Notepad. Yeah. Write the different ways of creating an instance of an account.
Instance of an account.
Yes.
So there can be a account. So this is the one way I can specify name.
No. Not this. The first line is done. What is the another way?
Another way, instance of an account. Mm, or account.
No. Wrong. No. Using S object also you can do that, right?
Yeah, as object, that I was thinking. As object, yeah. So some class dot account that we need to specify, I guess.
S object
Uh,
SOBJ equal to new account.
right.
This is just of the two ways.
Yeah, as object is a parent for
All
other.
the Salesforce objects.
Then if we are getting some
Again, there is another way. Account
yeah,
ACC
like something like
type dot
this.
for name. Yeah, this is typecasting.
Mhm.
No, not that.
Yeah, this is also one, I guess. Suppose if I'm getting a string or some JSON.
That is for decent.deserialize. You're thinking.
Right. So this way also
No,
I
no,
can.
no, 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 no. That's not the way. ACC
So
equal to type dot for name.
type dot.
For name. Sorry, not type dot for name. S object type
Something
dot.
like that.
You dynamically like there. I will show give you like good examples. I have the script with me. Let me just ping you that.
Yeah, sure.
I have done tremendous work around this. It's mostly used for if you have worked on the managed package in those scenarios, it's like very much useful.
Yeah.
Second. Let me just share my screen for a minute
Yeah,
so
sure.
that for our audience, they would be able to also see like how does the actual code look like. So this is a compiled version. So this is like account ACC equal to new account. This is another way. Dot new subject. A subject equal to a subject type dot for name dot new instance and acc1 dot put.
Okay.
Then this is the way
Maybe
for
yeah,
is creatable, is
mhm.
updatable, we can is accessible, we can have
Using
this.
schema class as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just teaching one of the students around this because most people will I have seen that on the internet like they don't go over like these schema classes quite well. So I thought like
Yeah, and those are actually really difficult to understand. Like that get describe everything. Yeah, even I have used it few times, but I directly copied it. I tried to understand it, but those are really complicated to understand.
I
Get
agree to that. That's a
yeah,
good reason. Like what nobody explains in detail, I try to pick up that topic.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I would like to learn from you, Ankit.
Yeah, sure. Like I also like talked about transaction finalizers, this schema classes. Not much content is available around those, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why. Another catch, yeah. Tell me like different kinds of objects that are available in Salesforce. Not types of objects, not objects. Just the type of objects. How would you classify objects that are available in Salesforce?
So either object can be a standard object or it can be a custom object. So the objects which Salesforce provide us, those are standard objects like account, leads, contacts, opportunity. So those are standard objects. But if we want, if we find a need and create a custom object, that will be a custom object. Create object that will be a custom object.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when it's such a trick question, it's an open-ended, not trick question, but an open-ended question. So we can classify in multiple ways. One is your standard and custom object. Apart from that, our regular setup and non-setup objects.
Yeah, setup as well as non-setup objects. Yeah. The setup objects are those which affects the user sharing.
And org as a whole,
Yeah.
like a user profile,
Yeah, user
permission
profile,
set.
permission set assignment, permission set license assignment.
Yeah, all of those. Actually, there's one more object, external objects as well, which normally comes up when we have used the Salesforce Connect.
Right.
I think we have covered it quite a lot,
Yeah.
amount of stuff. So
Yeah.